Well, tonight, some explanation regarding the division amongst progressives and liberals and independent thinkers, for that matter, which don't belong in either camp. So I'm going to read you a few excerpts from Glenn Greenwald's essay today. Our shared contempt for the Bush administration, at least once Bush and the Iraq War became discredited, largely obscured these differences when Bush was in office. The desire to undermine the Bush regime and the GOP and dislodge that movement from power subsumed all other objectives and united people with vastly different political outlooks and agendas. And there's still a shared revulsion towards the Palin-Limbaugh crowd, but that faction is too marginalized and impotent to serve the same function. With the unifying force of Bush and Cheney gone, the divisions are now vibrant and increasingly potent. In addition to healthcare and Iraq, roughly the same progressive fault lines are seen over the bank bailout, escalation in Afghanistan, Obama's economic team, tolerance for Obama's embrace of the Bush-Cheney civil liberties policies, and even the reaction to Matt Taibbi's recent Rolling Stones article on Obama's subservience to Wall Street. And I will definitely post a link to Matt Taibbi's article over at Rolling Stone, which is an absolute must-read for anybody. There are many reasons for the progressive division on the healthcare bill. There are differences over narrow questions of healthcare policy, with some believing the bill does more harm than good on that ground alone. I myself fall into that camp. Some of it has to do with broader questions of political power. If progressives always announce that they're willing to accept whatever minuscule benefits are tossed at them on the ground that it's better than nothing, and unfailing support democratic initiatives on the ground that the GOP is worse, then they will and should always be ignored when it comes to negotiate. Nobody takes seriously the demands of those who announce they'll go along with whatever the outcome may be. But the most significant underlying division here is the divergent views over the rapidly growing corporatism that defines our political system overall. And as Glenn continues, Glenn Greenwald that is, as I've written for quite some time, I've honestly never understood how anybody could think that Obama was going to bring about some new political approach or governing methods when he practices politically and substantially. It is basically the third way, the DLC, Democratic Leadership Committee, triangulating corporatism of the Clinton era, just repackaged with some sleeker and more updated marketing. At its core, it seeks to use government power not to regulate, but to benefit and even merge with large corporate interests, both for political power. Those corporate interests, of course, return then to fund the party and its campaigns and their political ends. It's devoted to empowering large corporations, letting them always get the way they want from government, and extracting, at best, some very modest concessions in return. And this is also the point that Matt Taibbi, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but Matt Taibbi over at Rolling Stone made. And I urge you to read this very long article to see just how all of us are getting screwed. One finds this in more than just economic policy. It's about more than just letting corporations do what they want. It's about affirmatively harnessing government power in order to benefit and strengthen corporate interests, and even merging government and the private sector. You know, some would call this fascism. This is not what Glenn Greenwald is saying, but this is what many other vloggers on here have pointed out. In the intelligence and surveillance realms, the line between government, agencies, and private corporations barely exists anymore. Military policy is carried out almost as much by private contractors, if not more, than by our country's own armed forces. Corporate executives and lobbyists can shuffle between the public and private sectors so seamlessly because divisions have been eroded. Our laws are written not by elected representatives, but literally by the largest and richest corporations. At the level of the most concentrated power, large corporations' interests and government actions are basically inseparable at this point. Part 2 will follow.